with danger and with daring rights. To the hilt we take you there, where courage meets a throat.
Some lives, some lives just kind of grab you from the pages of history. They're like, hey, look at me. There's a story here. And today we're diving into one of those, a sword swallower.
A sword swallower.
Yeah, Lady Patricia Zerm. A legend, really, in the world of sword swallowing.
Wow, sword swallowing. That's going to take some serious dedication, right, to master something like that. And to think her story goes through like decades of sideshow history, all those colorful characters, the challenges.
The whole world, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're going to try to make sense of it, her story. I mean, we got some great resources, mainly this book, To the Hilt, A Sword Swallower's History of Sword Swallowing.
Catchy title.
Right. And, of course, we've got the Sword Swallowers Association International Hall of Fame website. We're going deep trying to understand this incredible woman, Lady Patricia Zerm, and her career.
And her career is what's so fascinating. It spanned almost 4 decades, from 1939 to 1976. Think about it, 37 years performing under various stage names like Miss Patricia and Lady Patricia. She was a fixture with huge shows, Ringling Brothers, Ward Halls, World of Wonders, you name it.
Like stepping back in time, right, to this whole other world of entertainment. And through her story, through these really specific details, we get these glimpses into the whole show business landscape, Yeah. The resilience of these performers, and some pretty wild stories. So let's start at the beginning. Patricia Nellie Katz Kennedy, born September 1st, 1910, in Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky, her first home. What's interesting is she didn't start sword swallowing till she was about 29. I wonder what led her to that. At that age, I mean. Was that typical, or did something specific happen?
That's a great question. So by 1939, she's performing with the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey sideshow. But get this, she's not going by Lady Patricia just yet. It was Patty Smith, Pat Smith, or even Mrs. Speedy Smith.
Mrs. Speedy Smith, how did she get that one?
Well, she was married to a guy named C.D. Speedy Smith, a Ringling ticket taker, also from Lexington. He was with the circus for quite a while, from 41 to 47. And it just shows you, how personal connections really mattered back then. Especially in this world, the traveling shows, everyone knew everyone.
Makes sense, yeah. Tight-knit community. And even early on, it seems like her stage persona was evolving. By 1942, there's a Ringling postcard that just calls her Miss Patricia. It's like she was separating her stage life from her personal life, like Mrs. Speedy Smith was over there and Miss Patricia was taking the stage.
Exactly. And let me tell you, life in the sideshow wasn't always pretty. There's this story from 1942 reported by the Iola Register. Apparently, Miss Patricia Smith got into a little scuffle with Baby Betty, the fat lady, right there in the dressing room tent.
Oh, wow. What happened?
Well, it says she cut Baby Betty with a pop bottle.
You're kidding?
Nope. I mean, can you imagine? The tension, the drama, all crammed together in those tiny spaces performing night after night. Must have been a pressure cooker.
You're telling me they're putting on this show for the public, all smiles and amazing feats. But behind the curtain, there's gotta be some serious stuff going on. Rivalries, personalities.
Oh, absolutely. And things didn't get easier for Patricia. In August of 43, Billboard mentioned she was sick. She was still going by Mrs. Speedy Smith at that point. Then, just a month later, they report she had to leave her Ringling gig in Detroit. Had to go back home to Lexington to recover.
Yeah, makes you think, doesn't it? This life on the road, doing this dangerous, physically demanding thing, it must have taken its toll.
It's a tough life, for sure. But she was tough too, because around 43, maybe 44, she's back with Ringling. But here's the thing. No more Patsy or Mrs. Speedy Smith. It's Patricia Katz, Miss Patricia Katz, or just plain Miss Patricia. And that's not the only change. Her act is evolving. She's getting known for something different now, swallowing neon tubes.
Whoa, neon tubes, that's a step up, isn't it? From swords to glowing tubes, must have been quite a sight.
Oh yeah, definitely a way to stand out. In the 1944 Ringling program, she's listed as the neon tube artist. They still had their main sword swallower, Lady Louise Long, but Patricia was doing her own thing, carving out her niche. Imagine that, the risk, the visual. It must have been mesmerizing.
Absolutely. And then comes another big change. On November 30th, 1945, Miss Patricia marries a man named Charles A. Zerm. Big day for her in Sarasota, Florida.
And Charles Zerm, now he was interesting. He was 60, she was 35, so quite an age difference. But he knew the business. See, he was a ticket seller and assistant manager with Ringling. But way back in 1918, he'd managed the Worthen and Rice 10-in-1 sideshow.
So he was a seasoned pro. That must have had some influence on her career, having that kind of experience in her corner. Did they try to change her name again at that point, after the marriage?
They did. They tried to make Lady Patricia happen, but Miss Patricia just kind of stuck. People knew her by that name, but to their friends, they called her Pat Zerm, or just Patsy. It reminds you, behind all the spectacle, there were real people, real relationships.
Definitely. So what happened after the wedding? Did things change for her career-wise?
Oh, yeah. Things shifted. In 1946, Charlie and Patsy, they ran the whole sideshow on the Reynolds and Wells World of Today shows with Harry Leonard. It wasn't just performing anymore. They were managing, taking charge. It seems like they were pretty ambitious, wanting to control their own destiny.
An office-owned show like that would have given them some real freedom, right? Compared to being just one act in a bigger show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But things change fast in this world. Their route closed in September 46, and then they went with Harry Leonard's sideshow over to Lady Brothers Circus. And that's a key moment, because that's where they met Ward Hall. Remember that name? It's going to come up again big time.
Yeah.
It really is amazing how interconnected this whole world was.
Yeah, all these paths crossing. Makes you think it wasn't just about talent, it was about who you knew, who you met along the way.
So true. The next year, in 47, they were with the Mickey Mansion Stanley Babbitt sideshow, but they left before the season ended. It seems like they were trying different things, seeing what worked, where they fit in, but the big shows, they had a pull. Miss Patricia is back with Ringling Brothers in 48, 50, and 51.
So back to the big leagues. And what about Charlie? Was he still involved?
Oh yeah, very much so. There's this great little snippet in Billboard from September of 48. It mentions Patricia and Charlie, along with Rasmus Nielsen, the tattooed man and weightlifter. They're all visiting Dainty Dottie, another performer, a fat lady, at her place in Los Angeles. Dainty Dottie was with the big show. It's just this nice little snapshot of their lives, These performers, they're friends, they visit each other, even when they're with different shows.
It's those personal touches that bring it all to life. You can imagine the stories they must have shared.
Oh, I bet. And in 49, they were with Peter Cortez's Circus Sideshow. Always on the move,
Yeah.
But then, in April of 50, Billboard has them back with Ringling again. But this time, it's the Kids Show.
The Kids Show. What was that all about?
Well, it was a show specifically for kids, shorter hours, that kind of thing. And they were sharing the stage with Emmett and Priscilla Bajano. Well, she was the monkey girl, and he was the alligator skin man. And who do you think was the lecturer and ticket seller?
Let me guess, Charlie.
Charlie. They were a true team, each playing their part. And there's a photo of Lady Patricia from 51 standing in front of her banner holding a neon tube. It really captures that moment, her as the neon tube swallower,
It's one thing to hear about it, but to see that image, it must be pretty striking.
Oh, it is. But get this, in 1951, she gets even bigger exposure. She's in a movie. Cecil B. DeMille's The Greatest Show on Earth.
No way. So she went from the sideshow tent to the silver screen. What a leap.
It was filmed while the circus was on location. And even though it was a non-speaking role, millions of people would have seen her, far more than ever saw her in person. Talk about reaching a wider audience.
Makes you wonder what she thought about that whole experience, going from live performance to film. Quite a change of pace.
I know, right? But the shows went on. In February of 55, she's working the Tampa Fair for Bobby Hassan on Royal American shows, still in demand, still performing. And then in 54, 56, and 57, she and Charlie, they had their own office-owned show again, this time on Lloyd's Surface Penn premiere shows. They were independent, calling the shots, which says a lot about their reputation and experience.
That's a testament to their skills, both on stage and behind the scenes. And then something really interesting popped up from 1958. There's a photograph of Pat performing, but not at the circus. It's the First Baptist Church Sunday School of Gibsonton, Florida.
Gibsonton, that was like the winter haven for so many circus and sideshow folks, right?
Exactly. Lots of them had homes there. So to see her performing at a church event, it's just this fascinating glimpse into another side of their lives. They were part of this community, not just these strange performers passing through.
Humanizes them, right? It shows that they had these normal lives, even if their jobs were anything but normal. But then, in 1968, there's a big change. Charlie Zerm passes away, January 2nd at the age of 85. After all those years together, working side by side, it must have been incredibly difficult for her.
Yeah, a huge loss, personally and professionally. I'm surprised she kept performing after that.
Well, she did. From 69 to 75, she's with Ward Hall's World of Wonders. And guess what? Still swallowing those neon tubes. Ward Hall actually talked about her, and it's really fascinating. He said she always wore these beautiful formal gowns, and she had this twangy voice with a Kentucky accent.
So she never lost her roots. Did you talk during her act?
No, not with the neon tube. She'd perform in silence to the music of fascination with the lights dimmed. It just added to the whole mystique, you know?
Wow, that's a great touch. Really sets the mood. She knew how to create a captivating performance.
She did. And Wardhall also mentioned that she was a fantastic cook. She'd cook for him and the others on the tour, even Chris and Emmett Blackwelder, the Turtle Man. It just makes you picture them all, you know? This little family on the road, sharing meals, sharing their lives.
It warms your heart, doesn't it, to think about that camaraderie and to think about everything she'd been through.
And she kept going. But Wardhall said she always said she'd retire when she turned 65. And you know what? On September 1st, 1976, she went up to him and said, "It's my birthday, I'm done." Just like that, she retired.
What a way to go out. On her own terms, after such a long career, what did she do after that?
Well, she owned a house in Gibsonton, and so did her sister, whose husband, a carnival electrician, had passed away. They decided to sell their homes and move to Tampa, to a Baptist retirement home called Tampa Baptist Manor. And as far as anyone knows, she never went back to the show business world. Just a clean break.
Really turned a page, started a new chapter.
She did. Both she and her sister became devout Baptists and kind of cut ties with their old circus friends. It seems like their priorities really shifted, you know. Their community changed.
It's amazing how life can take these unexpected turns.
It really is. Sadly, Lady Patricia Zerm passed away in Tampa on January 8th, 1986. She was 75. She and Charles are buried together in the Garden of Memory Cemetery in Tampa. So there you have it, a life that went from Lexington, Kentucky to the big top to Hollywood, and finally to a quiet retirement. Born in 1910, gone in 1986, and in between, 37 years of a truly unique career.
It's inspiring in a way, isn't it, to think about everything she experienced, all the changes she went through. And when you think about that whole world, the circus, the sideshows, how different it was back then.
It really does. Lady Patricia Zerm, she was more than just a sword swallower or a neon tube swallower. She was a woman who adapted, reinvented herself, and left her mark on this amazing, almost forgotten world. Her story shows us the dedication, the resilience, the sense of community that existed in this unique subculture.
And performers like her, they were the heart of it all. They brought the spectacle, the wonder, the things you couldn't see anywhere else.
And we've only scratched the surface. If you want to go deeper, you can check out the Sword Swallowers Association International Sword Swallowers Hall of Fame. That's at swordswallow.com. They have a podcast called To the Hilt. Lots more stories there. And of course, there's the book we mentioned, To the Hilt, A Sword Swallower's History of Sword Swallowing by Dan Meyer and Mark Hardsman. You can find it pretty much anywhere books are sold, like Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or on their websites, tothehiltbook.com and tothehilt.net.
It makes you appreciate these performers, doesn't it? Their artistry, their dedication to this incredible, sometimes unbelievable craft. Lady Patricia Zerm's story, it's a reminder that there's so much more to discover about the history of entertainment, and sometimes the most fascinating stories come from the most unexpected places.
Couldn't have said it better myself.